Hello, welcome to the Old Man Orange Podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunnigan.
And we have somehow found a way to miss a DCU. I feel like this is like the biggest mistake we've made. We've missed a DCU one. I guess technically there's been a couple of the ones that that kind of, there's like those, I guess like the third or fourth rung DCU ones, because it seems like there's like the top tier, like the Batman, Superman, Justice League kind of stuff. And then there's sort of the second ones they kind of slide in, which are more like the offshoot characters, whether it be like, hey, here's Flash, here's Green Arrow, here's somebody like that. I guess they never really had a Green Arrow one. But, like things like that. And then there's like the third one, which you're like, oh, yeah. We got ones like Vixen, or we have these other like real oddball characters. And we're going to give no advertising to them.
Well, it feels like, I'm not sure what's happening here, because this thing had the quality probably of like a standard of the usual ones you'd see. But at the same time, like there was very little I only saw something for it on DC Fandom, and I was kind of like, that thing should have come out by now, shouldn't it have? And I looked it up, like, oh, it's been out for like over a month. And then like on top of that, when I actually got the thing, because recently with their new connected, well, not whether it be connected or standalone, they do that thing where you stack them together, it makes a complete picture. I'm not sure if this is technically part of that, because it doesn't do that. When you stack the DVDs, it doesn't complete this whole long picture they have going. So this might just be one of those random standalone, like someone in the studio thought this would be a fun idea, and the rest of them like, go for it, we got nothing coming out right now.
I think that's sort of what this one is. We're doing Catwoman Hunted here, and I think that they did kind of. It's weird because it's almost got a mixed match of like where it could have been like the A grade, but they kind of gave it maybe like the B or the even not really. I'm not gonna say the C, because the C mostly seems like the ones where it's like there's nothing wrong with those ones. Those ones are actually pretty good, but those always feel like the ones where like, hey, we kind of had like some little shorts we threw online, and now we've combined them all together to make a full movie or whatnot. And some of the best ones are that. Like that's like the Constantine one fell under that category, and
that's the Vixen one and the Green Arrow
and the Vixen one's really good. And then there was like that one that I know it had Flash and Green Arrow in it, but they weren't the main character. They were like the side characters. There's something else. I can't remember which one that is, but
Ray.
Oh well, then there was Ray. There was that one. That was okay. It had some funny moments in it, but that character's kind of a little bit goofy, but.
Well, the thing is, like, going off this, because it was just kind of like, oh, one got by me. Let's order it, and let's do it for the podcast, and I was kind of went in fairly neutral, like, okay, new DC movie, probably will be good. I'll be 100% honest with you. I didn't hate it, but the whole time I was like, I don't really give a shit. I don't know. I've never, I think this is the most lukewarm I've felt on one of these DC animated movies.
More than Ray.
Actually, you know what? I haven't seen Ray because that one wasn't super easy to come across where I was at. So I'm going to eventually watch Ray. I got HBO Max. It's probably on there.
Yeah, it's worth watching. I'm not saying it's not. It's got interesting things in it and so on like that. But it was just kind of like that was kind of like an okay one. I will say the Catwoman one. When it first started off, it had to kind of like, this has kind of got a weird way it's kind of going about it and so on like that. It has like one of the most amazing title sequences I think I've ever seen, though. Like that kind of like painted artwork version that they have for the opening credits, I think is actually one of the top tiers of any of these movies.
It has that whole kind of like 60s
like bebop
heist
tunes.
Yeah, heist kind of thing going on. Even I actually had to double check it. I was wondering like, oh, that'll be cool if they did that, but not the case, because this is actually an anime.
Well, it's one of those ones a bunch of Americans write it and then they hand it off to Japanese people like, here you go, America, you guys figure out how to put America together.
Well, the thing about it is, though, it even like the music, it's done by the guy who did The Great Pretender, which is, I mean, maybe it's the same music. I don't know, because it has that whole 60s kind of like heist, kind of like con man kind of vibe to it, that little jazzy type vibe. Mm-hmm. And it may very well be some of the same music. I couldn't tell you. It's been maybe like 2 years since I've watched the show. But same guy, and like looked in, like, is it the same director? Like, nope, not the same director. I don't even know who the director is. I looked at the stuff, other stuff he made, I didn't know what it was. But yeah, I went in, like, I never want to go into these, like, disliking them, and I didn't dislike it, but I'm like, just given this full disclosure right now, I was just very kind of meh about the whole thing. And which is too bad, because you look at the cast, and they have a great cast, with maybe the exception of Stephen Bloom. I didn't even know who, like Jonathan Banks, the guy from I don't remember his name, but he was the badass I say the badass bald guy from Breaking Bad. The hitman from Breaking Bad. I forgot his name. Like, in Better Call Saul. He's Black Mask.
Yeah, what is his name? It's like one of the best characters in there.
Yeah, I forgot his name too, the character's name. But he's the guy that takes Jesse Pinkman under his wing at some point. Mm-hmm. That guy is Black Mask.
Mike, is that his name?
Yeah, Mike.
Yeah.
Keith David is Tobias Whale, you know.
Yeah, from They Live and Halo and all that stuff.
Requiem for a Dream, like
Spawn.
I know it's pretty, baby, but I didn't pull it out for hair, you know. So, there's a lot of good voice actors in this, and or a lot of good actors in general, and I didn't know. Oh, that was him? You guys didn't give him a whole lot to say or do. Because I was like, oh, fuck, Black Mask is in this. And that's one of my... I think he has the potential to be a very... I really like Black Mask. And I think, you know, depending on who's writing him, it can kind of go either way. But I think he is potential to be one of the best DC villains out there. And it was just very much like, I am a mob boss. I do crime shit. That's what I do. That's as far as they got with them. And he's just very stoic. He doesn't have his anger issues. He's not flipping shit over. He's not pointing at people in the room. He's not even doing the flamboyant thing Obi-Wan Kenobi was doing in the Birds of Prey movie, you know? So
yeah. Well, it's like Black Mask is one of those characters that I feel like he has great potential to be literally up there with the high-end characters of, you know, Joker, Penguin, Riddler, all that kind of stuff. It's just, I think he just needs to be given just the total right place that everybody can kind of see it. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times he's one of those characters, it's like, there's great stuff he's in, but then a lot of times he gets the rug pulled out from underneath him. It's like literally like Batman Arkham Origins, like one of those ones like, oh, sweet, we're going to be battling Black Mask, and they're going to make a big deal of it. Oh, no, out of the way, you. Joker's here.
And the only thing they do with him in Arkham City is when you're walking through, like, the beginning of the game, you see him in a corner with, like, a chair trying to fight some dudes off, and he just gets basically, like beaten the fuck out of by a bunch of prison guards with riot sticks. That's all he's there to be.
It's
and
like
then, yeah, Red Hood, I think the thing that, like, outside of the comics... The thing that kind of gave him the most love was probably Under the Red Hood. But by the end of that, he's still duped by the Joker. And he's still, like, you know, screaming, like, let me out of here, you fucking freak! You know, and then, like... And there are great stories with him in the comics. And, you know, it depends on who's writing and all this and that. Because there was some where it was like, ooh, that was a little rough. But for some reason, he had, like, mind control powers for a minute or some bullshit. I don't know what the fuck that was about. But, regardless... I was excited when I saw him, and like they didn't do anything with him. And then immediately, with a little bit of spoilers, he doesn't realize he's dealing with the real Catwoman because they're going to this big masquerade party, and all these different villains are there, and they're all dressed up as either villains or superheroes because that's the joke of it. They go there, and then a pretty lady dressed as 60s Catwoman goes in, and you know it's like we know it's really Catwoman, and Black Mask doesn't know it's really Catwoman, but he brings her in. And then she goes and takes this opportunity to steal a jewel. And maybe my DC knowledge, I was putting too much of that out there. I'm not mad they didn't do these things, but it feels like it feels like, oh, it's a green gem. It's kryptonite. Oh, it's not? Oh, okay. And then the whole thing, like, you were the one that brought her in here. I was like, oh shit, so this is going to be some kind of weird thing where since he brought her in, he's going to be under the knife to go get her and hunt her down. It's like, no, he's just there.
Well, yeah, because it's one of those ones, like, I mean, I'll say this, I still actually, as the thing kind of progressed, I actually enjoyed it more farther on, but it does do that thing where it throws a lot of characters in. There's probably actually more DC characters, like, in this, other than maybe, like, that, you know, the big old epic one they had, like, on the Justice League one, but for just a standalone DC one, there's a crap ton of characters in here. Like, they're literally, it's like, you think that, like, one of these movies would be one's like, okay, there'll be Catwoman, you know, and Batwoman, and then there'll be, like, maybe two villains or something like that, and that would be about it, but it's like, no, though, they keep throwing in, and a lot of kind of, like, almost even, like, oddball ones, they're just kind of like those other gangster-type characters and so on. But then at the same time, it's like, I think... Sometimes there's a downfall if you throw too many characters in there, so then characters like Black Mask just end up sort of just being there just to sit around and not really do anything.
Well, that's kind of what they all generally are there for. I mean, you have, like, okay, what's her name? Minerva, the cheetah, has a big moment at the end, and then everybody else... Okay, that's the guy that runs Intergang. Okay, he turns into a big robot at some point, and that's cool. But that's kind of very up and over really quickly. And then you have, like, I don't know. There's just everyone's there, and they all have a moment to like throw something at the good guys before they get knocked out. But it's like I don't know. Like even like Dr. Zinzan or whatever his name was, because he's a weird, obscure character from like the 50s or 60s or some shit. I appreciate that they threw him in there, but at the same time, it wasn't like. Not like he was there for any other reason. Just like, look, call back, look at him, look at him, look at him.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of what I feel. Like, at the same time, like, I feel like it is cool, at least. I feel like there's something, like, would you rather see a character like that who never gets screen time than not see him at all? So I feel like that's kind of cool. But, yeah, it could have been, used a little bit more. Though, I still think that there's still good action in it. There's still kind of fun character moments and so on like that. And even, I do think that, like, the Batwoman, Selena Kyle is kind of a funny little combination there to sort of have between those two, and just how they sort of interact, and how, like, Batwoman just has a real hard time, like, having to, like, work with it. Like, she's just too, like, kind of proper and just, like, by the book. And then you got Selena Kyle here just, like, you know, jerking everybody around and so on, and untrustworthy. And I think that made for a good kind of, like, duo.
It didn't bother me, but I did notice there was this thing where everybody else is talking, like, not like, you know, the most amazing dialogue, but talking more, a little bit more realistic, and every single thing out of Catwoman's mouth was more or less like a 60s kind of like perfect kind of thing. Not that exactly, but a lot of like kind of puns, a lot of that kind of like femme fatale stuff you would see in an old heist movie, which I'm sure was very intentional. But I just noticed a stark contrast between her and everyone else in the movie.
Well, that's what I felt, because it has like a very Fujiko from like Lupin the Third feel. Like, I mean, like beyond just like even just the music and the locations and all that kind of stuff like that, and just the way like she kind of acts and so on. Like, it definitely has like almost her character's just a real character, and then I feel everybody else is sort of just like a regular in like the regular DC world, and she's almost like the over the top kind of character in it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
The one thing I think, though, is it does have that anime kind of, like, slight look to it, but it has that weird look where it almost feels like if you got a bunch of Canadian guys or Americans trying to be like, hey, you know, this anime is popular. It's 2003 right now. I want you guys to change up your kind of look now to kind of have that anime look. And they're like, but we've never really... Oh, okay, we'll figure it out. Give us a week and we'll kind of get back. And it's weird to have, like, okay, you have an actual team. Like, and I think this is a team that actually worked on stuff like the Pokemon and so on like that. But then it's like they try to do that almost that weird, like, okay, it feels like it's Japanese people trying to do it in an American style. Instead, I wish they would just double down on the Japanese anime look. Just if you're going to have the anime team, just double down and make it just look full on anime. Don't have them, like, try to do, like, you know, the anime team trying to make an American cartoon. Just have them go, no, just go ham. Make it look like something that should appear on Funimation or Crunchyroll, since Funimation's going away.
It did have this... Funimation's going away?
Well, they combined, like, Crunchyroll bought Funimation like a year ago, and then I totally spaced out about it. And then I was watching Funimation, all of a sudden there's a thing that's like, hey, you, like, by the way, you got to go get Crunchyroll now. We're not putting any new shit on here anymore. I'm like, are you still going to charge my credit card? We'll get back to you on that one. Okay, well, here's 60 days of Crunchyroll. Okay, cool. Well, now I'll just look like the guy who's got way too much anime on his hands by having 2 accounts.
It's sad because I only got Funimation just to watch like 4 different shows. So now it's
That's okay, though. Crunchyroll has the Shenmue show on there, and it's really fucking good. So that makes it all... The downfall, though, is now I'm like, well, now I got to go make my new watch list on Crunchyroll. I mean, I already had a Crunchyroll watch list because I had it before back in the day. But I'm like, now I got to remember all the shows that I saved on Funimation that I'll probably never get around to watch, but it looked interesting from the little profile thing. And now I got to go search through 10,000 animes to find what it was again.
There is a lot of that thing of like, what the fuck was the name of that show? Like, it looked cool, but I have no idea what the fuck its name was. And then you just find out, like, Magic Girl... edgy teen boy with an eye patch with a sword and a gun.
Giant guns.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Some asshole holding guns upside down.
Stuff. That's mostly always for me. It's like, it's got that cool 70s look to it. I'll save it. It looks like my kind of stuff.
Made before I was born, sold. Cool.
Yeah, it's got any of the old man look stuff to it. There we go. I like the old man anime.
Yeah, well, I guess that's weird because this show, there are moments where you look at if you look at one individual shot here and there, like, oh, that looks like an anime. And then there are other shots where it looks like you said, that 2003, it's an American show pretending to be an anime, but it's actually made by people who work on anime. So I think it comes out of like anime artists and creators trying to make it look American, and thus that's how you land on this totally spies kind of look to it, you know?
Yeah, it's like this is still a different look, but it kind of reminded the same way that Batman Ninja was, where like it almost is confused on what it's trying to present you in different ways and so on like that. And in the process, it's like I don't know. I don't know if it's just a back and forth between like this East and West thing, but it's just I feel like I would like to see actually just something like, okay, here, let's just get a acclaimed animation team and director and all that kind of stuff, and just say like, you go ham on this, and I mean, like, you put this together. You know what I mean?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. The concept sounds like I would like to see this as a comic by like a writer I really like. Because the concept isn't a bad concept. It's Catwoman in Europe, still a gem. She pissed off Leviathan, and she's got a bunch of weird, oddball gangster characters coming after her. And there are like deep cuts, like they had, I guess she's a newer character, but they had Alfred's daughter, Penny One, as an Interpol agent, and I don't know who the guy was. I'm assuming he's in the comics too.
Yeah.
And
which I thought that was kind of cool, because I'm like, has Penny One ever been in an animated one before? I mean, maybe she has, but...
Not animated. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if she was in, like, a CW show.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I don't think she's been anything animated.
Yeah. Because, yeah, that was one of the first things I thought there. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, because I felt like I've only seen her in the comics. So, I mean, that's one of the cool things. I will say this thing does have a lot good going for it at the same time, too. There is these kind of characters that you just never have seen. They are kind of trying stuff. Yeah, the overall, I think, story is very interesting, just kind of like her going by. She's got this gem that she's just getting so she can take back to Gotham and sell it, and and help out like the kids and the orphans and all that kind of stuff that she does. She has a tax write-off at the end of the year.
Thank you, Catwoman. Yep, here you go. Here's some cat ears and a whip. That's my contribution. Later. So she's doing that, But yeah, like, and they're just throwing together these kind of characters and everybody sort of, and like the whole idea of these people all chasing after her, and even like how, with Penny One and Batwoman and all that stuff, kind of bringing Catwoman in and being like, okay, now you got almost kind of like the Suicide Squad thing, like, here, you can either go to jail and you see what happens to you there, or you can work for us and, get this back from, Leviathan and work this way. And I mean, like, simple plot, but still works. Yeah, well, I'll say this real quick regarding the guard, because you're going back to the opening credits, how it had that whole like '60s pop art kind of look with the jazz music. I appreciate, 'cause for a while I thought they were doing the thing where they were showing you the whole story in that style, because a lot of times those movies do that kind of thing. I'm like, we already know that's going to happen. I already know this is going to happen. And then I kind of forgot what some of it was that went on. Like, and I realized, oh, wait, no. Because I was like, well, she still has to save a bunch of girls from, like, trafficking or whatever it was. Because you just see, like, a silhouette of, like, Catwoman saving a bunch of silhouettes of girls. I'm like, okay, well, that still has to happen. You realize, oh, that already happened. That's why she's on the run in the first place. So I appreciated that. So it's not like we're just kind of waiting for this to happen, for that to happen, then we're done. Mm-hmm. There was also, what was the other example I was going to make? I think it's kind of, they did do this thing, this very, very anime-ish thing, almost fan scripty thing, where you had Catwoman coming on to Batwoman, and there was this part, because the whole time, like, Batwoman talks like, I'm not sure if this is the lady who voices her, if this is her normal voice, but you know how, like, sometimes when, like, a lady gets frustrated with a guy, and she's like, and that's when he comes in like, oh yeah, I don't feel like doing that. Da, 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 da. She always talks like she's doing her guy voice.
Yeah, so literally in this thing, it almost felt like, it was that weird thing, like
Elizabeth Holmes or some shit,
Yeah, like it was like yeah, she's just. But I think it was supposed to be the kind of character. It's Batwoman. She's trying to put on, because she's got this tough demeanor, and she's like, yeah, I'm a tough girl, look at me, boo, 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 boo. And then, because, then when, Catwoman's just doing her, like, intrigue and just being like, you know what, I can get anything out of anybody, and she's just kind of playing Batwoman. And then when she takes the mask off, because then it's like, especially because it has, like, sort of that slightly anime look to it, it makes it look like Batwoman's actually kind of frail on the inside. Not like in a bad way, but it's just like she's a little girl there trying to play, tough, character on the outside sort of thing, but maybe it's just because she sort of has that anime look to her, so she has that look like she could be like, part of like Sailor Moon's crew or something like that. Not saying it's not a tough character, but like has that, like, she almost looks like she's like a 15-year-old girl underneath that.
Well, that was the thing, because I guess you know the cowl makes the eyes look so much smaller, and then she takes off the cowl. Which, first off, what's Batwoman, whether she's turned on or not, what's Batwoman doing letting Catwoman pull her cowl off?
Yeah, Jesus, breaking all the codes.
These giant saucer eyes, and suddenly her voice goes like, "Do you think we have time? Catwoman son," or whatever, you know? Like,
yeah, just sparkly eyes, like, oh, just like the background's all...
the pink background with like watercolors and shit, you know? Like, it's one step away from that, and then Catwoman turns away and says, "Oh, well, I didn't want to fuck anyway." Oh, you know, just...
I just that part made me laugh so hard, though, because it's just like, well, like, oh, yeah, whatever, I'm doing my thing.
It's like... Well, the other thing is, like, it was one of those things where I just had trouble. I mean, don't get me wrong, I have not read, I get it, it's meant to be, maybe it's trying to play on the tropes of anime and this and that, but I have not read much Catwoman. I'm not Catwoman. Much Batwoman. She's more of a character that pops in other people's books for me. So the idea, I don't know if she would, from what I've seen, I don't think she'd fall for something like that. But at the same time, it's not going to be like, boycott this movie! They misrepresented a character I only kind of know about, you know?
Well, I thought it just meant for a funny scene. I thought, like, I actually appreciate it more because I thought it was just kind of hilarious how she just was dicking with her. Like, I just think that part was just, like, hilarious. I don't know, got a good laugh out of it and so on. The one thing, though, is like, for some reason, I always thought that Batwoman, like, she just had that bright red hair, though, because I could have swore, like, in some of the comics, like, maybe, and in this one, it's almost like when she takes it off, it's like, oh, it's a wig, but then she's just kind of like a little ginger girl on the inside.
She has red hair, but it's just not as bright.
Yeah,
and it's shorter. So
yeah,
which, you know, makes sense.
Maybe I'm just thinking, I almost want to say it's like I'm thinking of some of the older, like, versions of Batwoman. I could have swore she like when she had the whole suit off, she still had that vibrant red hair.
I think I might be wrong here. I think Batwoman is a character originally from like the 50s.
Yeah, I'm not talking about that version because that's a different person.
Yeah, but I think she was from the 50s and then she up and disappeared and maybe she even died. I don't know. And then they just kind of brought her back and they modernized her. I think that's what that character is. It's been a long time. But
yeah, because I know that Batwoman is a character. It's an old timey Batwoman, and then this one. The one that we see all the time nowadays is actually a completely, I think, different character, just using that same name, because that's why you'll see like those. Even there's that animated, like the Batman animated series, like the last movie that they did. That's like the Mystery of Batwoman, and it kind of at that point they're like, hey, here's this character we haven't used in like 30 years. We're gonna kind of make a new version of that there, and that one just kind of came and went. And then this one here,
that's right, yeah.
the redhead one. But I could have swore as I'm just picturing back to like I don't know, like a Batman and Robin or one of those comics from like, you know, the New 52 era that I could have swore that I could picture a scene where she's standing like in like a gown or something like that and she has like the, you know, out of costume at like, you know, some kind of rich person's ball that Bruce Wayne's at and her hair is just pure red. So when I saw them, like is that how she always has been? I mean, granted, I haven't read, you know, of anything that Batwoman in recent years, it seems like, but I was like, maybe that is this whole time. It is just like a wig.
I think this version of Batwoman came out with
like, is she wearing a wig or is it real hair? You know, I mean, does that mean that Barbara Gordon's hair is not real? Is that part of the mask?
Shit, does that mean like Dick Grayson actually has like green hair? Fuck, no. Yeah. No, well, real talk.
Did
I think
Bruce Wayne really dye Jason Todd's hair now?
Real talk. I think we need this filler because there's not really a whole lot to say about the movie because the movie is very point A to point B, but at the same time, so more of this, more hair talk. No, but at the same time, I think that she is a character that came out closer to like the give or take the. Sorry, my dog. 1 sec.
Okay, that's okay. We'll just continue on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Apologize if anybody's viewing in live.
No, we don't have it live, so it's okay.
Okay. Oh, it's not live?
No.
Okay, cool. Anyway.
But yeah, so it's like, yeah, there's that, and then I don't know, the hair and so on. I don't know we're going into so much detail on the hair. Now I feel like I need to go pick up a Batwoman comic and just figure this mystery out.
I think she came out
There's
a
mystery
bit
of Batwoman here that I'm...
I think she came out a little bit pre-52, like this version of her, and then New 52, they tried to make a bigger thing of her. So
yeah, well, because that's what I really remember them bringing it back was New 52, but there is... I had a poster on my wall that was like, it's pre-New 52, but it's like in that kind of like, that era of, like the mid-2000s, like kind of Batman run. I know that she's in that section.
Yeah, and I think that's why they're making a big deal about her coming back. No, I mean, she was probably one of my favorite characters in this show, in this movie, in all honesty. Let's see here, because you have, like, who was the team of Leviathan? Because for a second I thought it maybe was the Black Glove. The second I saw Minerva and how she looked, I assumed it was actually going to be Jezebel Jet, who was the rich lady, like rich politician, supermodel that was basically Bruce Wayne's dream girl that Grant Morrison made around a little before Bruce Wayne went missing in R.I.P.
Yeah.
And she was actually head of the Black Glove. For a split second, that's who I thought it was. Like, oh, it's Minerva? Oh, okay. I thought it'd been cooler because the whole thing with Black Glove is they're the Black Hand or Black, one or the other.
No, the Black Hand, that's the Daredevil one, isn't it?
I think they're just the hand.
Oh, they're just the hand, yeah.
Yeah. They had this whole thing where it's like they're some of the most powerful, richest people in the world, and they try to set up a scenario to crash down someone else who's powerful and rich, and they do it in a way where it's kind of like a betting game for them. And Bruce Wayne was one of their targets. And I thought, like, oh, that'd be so cool if they used those characters, just because they're just such a weird combination of characters. They're kind of swept under the rug. Like, New 52 happened, like, we gotta get rid of this shit, you know?
Yeah.
And then, like, it's like, well, okay, it could be Leviathan. And Leviathan, that was, like, because that was the character that, like, whatchamacallit, that the Damian Wayne clone was for a minute.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I do kind of forget about that, but that's correct there. Well, it's funny also just having Cheetah, because I remember we mentioned that, like, on the Catwoman Win in Rome. I like we just had, like, literally the Catwoman marathon of podcast, but like we're like, hey, that Cheetah like Catwoman combination, that's kind of a cool thing. And that's just like when I see it in this movie, I'm like, oh, okay, so that this has been kind of exploited like in the last like 10 years, it seems like.
Maybe it happens every Catwoman book, and people who read Catwoman frequently are like, oh, Cheetah again, you know, and we're like, oh, how quaint, it's we've never seen that before. Oh, yeah.
It's like Batman's fighting the Joker again. I would have never expected that.
maybe that's her secret main antagonist we don't even know.
Yeah, well, I mean, it does make total sense. I think that is just like converting a Wonder Woman character into like, you know, give Catwoman that. Because sometimes when you get those sort of side characters...
Like Spider-Man and Daredevil sharing Kingpin? Yeah,
because it's almost that thing where you start kind of... Some characters almost work best to even just sort of share. Like, and that's how I feel about Daredevil. Because Daredevil really just sort of... I mean, he's got his own stuff, too, but he sort of shares in the Spider-Man kind of world. I guess same way that sort of Punisher does, too. You know, and, like, I think that kind of combination there for Catwoman and Cheetah, though, is still a pretty good, like, that makes for a pretty good, like, you can't really complain there. I mean, after a while, if they keep making more movies like this where it keeps happening, we might be almost like, okay, we've seen it a lot, but...
Yeah. I mean, I honestly think, like, this was made a couple of reasons. Like, I'm wondering what's going on with the DC, because... It seems like ever since After a Long Halloween, they've been a little behind, you know? They went so far out of their way to be on top of these for a while. And then After a Long Halloween, it's been a minute, you know?
Yeah, because this is like, okay, it's like... Well, there was Injustice that was before this one, I guess. That was the one that was right beforehand. And, yeah, because this one's, I think it's the 44th one that they've made of all these DCU ones. Which just
Injustice was the previous one?
I think that was the previous one. So now it makes you just kind of wonder what the next one kind of coming up is. Because one, on the Blu-ray, they didn't have one of those advertisements that says that, hey, coming next time on DCU. Which I noticed that sometimes the B and C movies never have that kind of stuff. They just sort of like, oh yeah, here's the DVD and so on, and boom. You know, or actually, they don't give you the DVD anymore. Even though I told the DCU on the little poll that they gave me that I still like my DVDs, and then they're like, sure, whatever, we don't care. We're taking that away from you. You don't deserve the DVD anymore. Take your Blu-ray and digital copy. Yeah. Well, I like having the DVD, because what if I run across that I'm in a situation where there's not a Blu-ray player there? You know.
Yeah, true. You never know. Well, it is also one of those things with this, with the DC animated movies. I guess one of my things with this movie is, for a while, it felt like because I'm going to just make I'm going to go on kind of a tangent just for a second. I'm going to try and keep it focused in, but we'll see what happens. For a while, when you would get an animated straight to DVD movie as a kid, you're like, oh, this is definitely an animated straight to DVD movie. There's just the certain things you could tell, like a little cheaper, this and that, but
yeah,
whatever. How else am I going to get the sequel to Aladdin?
Yeah,
and then
sometimes like the third Aladdin though,
that third one's pretty good.
The third one's pretty good, and Aladdin finds his dad and everything like that. But yeah, a lot of times they are kind of cash grabs. And
then like there'd be the just different straight DVD movies you'd watch, and then DC's like we're not only we doing those, but they're gonna be PG-13. Like, oh really? And it felt more of like they were using everything they had to make the best thing. Maybe it was like the animation was better than something you'd see on TV. Maybe not good enough to go to theaters, but you could tell they're pulling deep cuts from the comics. They're making it a little bit more adult, and it didn't feel like it didn't just feel like a cash grab. It felt like something they were doing for fans, because this is the closest thing you're going to get to the comic. So here you go. And they seem to just be progressively getting better and better. And this one really did feel like a cash grab to me. Like, this one really did feel kind of like, it's Catwoman, but it's an anime. Isn't that quaint, And here it is. And it's kind of linked to the movie because Catwoman's in the new movie, so yay for that.
Yeah.
That's all kind of came across. It didn't really feel like someone was working on The Long Halloween, or even Man of Tomorrow, or the I'm going more recent ones, but Justice Society Civil War. Because those ones, even though they may have been animated and straight to DVD or Blu-ray, they had this, you could tell they really cared about it, just from the artistic choices they made. I mean, even the Batman Soul of the Dragon.
That was a good one.
The idea that we're going to do a 70s martial arts movie. It's going to take place in the 70s, and we're even going to give it kind of look like, well, if a Batman movie was made in the 70s, what some of the rules or things would be constricted by, and going off that,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's just when you make granted, how many other people have made 44 movies, and I will say that the track record of the DCUs in 44 movies is still pretty darn high. Because really, I'll even say it's the worst movies that come out, they're still better than a lot of other people's animated movies and so on like that. Because even I feel like the only reason sometimes you would think some of the DCU ones aren't up to par is just because they release so many high quality ones that it's almost like this Catwoman one. If this Catwoman one would have came out in one of the first string ones or something like that, you'd probably be like, man, that's really fucking good. Look at they use all these characters and so on like that. But the more that come out, it kind of almost dilutes it a little bit more, so that one that's kind of like a solid middle of the road movie is not going to maybe seem the same, But I still think it's kind of. I still enjoyed it the whole way through. I still had fun with it and whatnot like that. I will say, the special features wise, though, they really went to town on making a fat Catwoman documentary that came on this thing. It was oh shit, there's 60 minutes of special features on here.
Yeah. I guess this is one of the few things that still kind of holds on to the special features, because there's that period back in Lord of the Rings, when those are first coming out on DVD, we're making 5 hours worth of special features. Sit down, bitch. You're gonna learn how the fucking mocap suit works, And now it's oh yeah, 15 minutes of making of. Let's ask the actors what they think. Yeah, when working on my character, I did this. And there's also that's a green screen. That's where CG stuff goes. And this one is oh well, Back in the day, this would be considered bare bones, but the idea of an hour-long Catwoman documentary.
Yeah, but it's still pretty cool just to kind of have just the cat goes from literally from the 40s on up all through there. So I was well, that's pretty cool, because I was almost kind of expecting it to have just two maybe 10 minute little special features, nothing. Stuff that would be kind of cool but be kind of quick and to the point and so on like that. Or a couple of the DCU ones, they started doing the lazy special features. I'm not saying that they weren't bad, but they're hey, what would be easier than putting together a retrospective or anything like that? Let's just get 5 of the guys and gals together, and we'll just pretty much do a podcast.
There's those.
Because they did a couple of those. I'm not saying that it's not that they were necessarily bad, but to be oh, this is you guys just wanted to make a real easy special features. That's all you want to do.
There's that, and there's also the ones where they just decided they're going to like reuse the same special features from one DVD and put it on another one.
Oh yeah.
I remember I bought when I was getting one of the Dark Knight Returns. I'll get the special features of Dark Knight Returns. I think it was part 1, and it was like aside from a couple bonus cartoons, cool for that. It was also the they took the Bob Kane, the man behind Batman. They took that one off the Gotham Knights one and just plopped it on this. I'm like, you motherfuckers.
Yeah, because, I hate to say it, but the DCU ones, like, these movies are, especially for the people that buy the DVDs, like, because, if you're just watching off, like, HBO Max, that's where you might, capture some casual fans and so on like that. But the people that are buying the Blu-rays, because they want the special features, they want all the extras, and so on like that, those are the hardcore fans. They most likely probably already own the previous 43 movies.
I'm going to say something. There's a chance you own, like, one of the Batman movies just because little Billy likes Batman and mom and dad didn't see this was PG-13 or R-rated.
Yeah.
So you just bought it. That's a possibility. It's not a possibility. Somebody was just curious and decided to buy Justice Society World War II. It's not. It isn't a coincidence they just happen to also get like Green Lantern Emerald Knights. It's one of those things where they're definitely ones where no, if you own this, it's because you're a fan of these and you collect nearly all of them.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's what I feel like. This is one of my like. I love that I own every single one of these ones in a physical form. It's like one of those ones that's just got this massive fucking DC like DVDs, Blu-ray set of all kinds of stuff. You know what I mean? And something's like so special about that. But when they do that thing where it's kind of like, because there was also a period too where they were just kind of putting like kind of just real quick special features. Because that was almost the other thing back like when these movies first came out. Is every single one of them you just got that cool like, hey, here's this big retrospective. We're going to kind of catch you up to speed on the entire history of a character. I mean, even the live action movies did that too because that's where there's like one of the like those ones like all the Marvels and all the DC ones of kind of like the 2000s. Like that was one of the coolest things when you got when we're in that great era of the double disc DVD special features, and you would just get the massive ones. Like I mean, like sounds weird. It's like some of the movies that maybe weren't even the greatest movies almost had like the special features outweighed them all. It's like the Elektra one, like the Elektra
Daredevil
director's cut one. Like the special, it's got like a an hour and like 10-minute like retrospective big old fat special features on Elektra the whole way through. It's like the Daredevil one and so on like that, or the Daredevil regular because it's weird. The Daredevil director's
the regular,
the director's cut like that's the better version of the movie, but for some reason like all the good special features are all on the Daredevil regular version.
Yeah, like fuck you. You want either good special features or an R rating. Your choice.
I think that the Blu-ray nowadays they kind of combine both of them together. But I remember back in the day that's what it was because the Daredevil. I will also say the director's cut just has like maybe like a 10-minute one of those directors explaining like, okay, this is our movie, a little intro thing to it. But it probably has a couple things on there. But I just remember it being like not the same as the regular version.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even these movies, I think as they come out, I think that people are just becoming less and less interested in that special feature stuff because they could look this shit up online. Who gives a shit? We're wasting our time. Let's just get the movie out there. That said, though, this movie does have a tendency to kind of go by. It went by pretty quickly. I guess one of the things, how quick, because it is a very strict A to B kind of like, even though you have the opening of the heist, it doesn't have like, I think it has more of the tone and feel of a heist movie than being more of a straightforward heist story, Yeah, because it's got the heist in there and everything like that, but then as it kind of goes along and it switches hands, and then they got to go back and get it from Leviathan, that jewel. And then it just becomes kind of like as Batwoman and Catwoman kind of go along. I mean, there's a lot of cool action scenes that I feel like kind of get sort of taken for granted. But like there's just fights and so on. But it's just a battle its way through to get to that jewel and all that kind of stuff. And as they kind of go through different people, I mean, they even drop. Like, the thing is too is they start dropping other characters. Like Solomon Grundy comes in at some point there too, just drop dead. I mean, there is a lot. That's the one thing I say. There is a lot of characters that just start like appearing as this thing goes on. I mean, even Talia al Ghul's in there at the very end and whatnot. Head of Leviathan,
yeah, like she's totally in charge of it and whatnot. You got Tobias Whale in there too, that's the one played by Keith David, and then even
Cheshire.
Yeah,
so bringing back the cat stuff. They go against Cheshire.
Yeah, because that's actually a pretty cool battle right there too.
Which I feel like that's a character that kind of came in like became more popular because of Young Justice. and I don't really know how the character looks in the comics so much, but then we'll just pull their design directly from Young Justice is what it feels like. And then they also had her fight like Nosferatu, which is like, oh, you got your bat, I got my bat. I liked that part. I thought that part was cool just because it was like one cat, one bat versus another cat, another bat. Like, so I liked that aspect of it.
So that's what I mean. There is a lot of cool characters and usage, and even if they are kind of quick, it's still like characters you just don't see that much. And I will say that I did like the action a lot, and I thought there was a lot of good points there, and just the fights that they sort of have, and the team ups and whatnot like that, and really kind of giving like it almost kind of expands like in a sense like I would like to see sort of the kind of like you taking this concept and then sort of running with it. I think it could be like expanded into something even more kind of neat as it kind of went on. If you really did want to take it kind of farther, maybe change things up a little bit. I feel like once again double down harder on the anime. Just get like a pure anime team, not someone trying to make something for a worldwide audience, but just be like no. Go deep into just like making an anime, not making an anime weird, but just making it just look like an anime, like
Yeah, and going off that, once again, I didn't dislike or hate it or anything. I just felt kind of like very lukewarm through the majority of it. Just because I think I've seen like DCU fights choreographed better. I've seen animation look better. I mean, even some of the more anime versions. Like I'll say, even though I think I actually like Gotham Knight more than I like this.
Do you really? Because that's always I consider that's my low bar movie is Gotham Knight.
Yeah, I guess because I think Gotham Knight, I mean, despite of how kind of like that one did feel a little bit like a cash grab, visually it was a very there's a lot of very visually interesting versions of it, stories within there. Like maybe the story is all very whatever, to the most part, but the look of it all, of a lot of those are like takes of it were interesting and well done. Where this just felt more of kind of like, let's make it anime-ish, but not too anime-ish. Let's give a kind of American look, but not too American. You know what I mean? So it just felt like this weird kind of middle ground. And once again, not like the worst movie made. Not even like I don't even think Gotham Knight was even a movie the only one I think I flat out.
Yeah, really... and I don't even dislike it either. When I just kind of. I would call it the 2 out of 4 movie. So it's totally middle of the road. Like at the end of the day, it's still enjoyable and it's still interesting. And I wouldn't even mind going back because we never did a podcast on that one because it came out way back in the day. I would even just going back and looking at it, I might even be even a little bit more open because I haven't watched it probably in like 10 years or something like that. But that's always the one I was kind of say everything that like that's kind of my measuring one is by that one. And I've never really seen a DCU one. Maybe I don't know. Maybe Ray might be not nearly as interesting because it's just. Oh, no, I take it back. Ray did still have some interesting stuff. I feel like I'm giving Ray a hard time here. I like the weird alternative, like Nazis and stuff that he has to fight in there at some point. But like,
well, there's even I'll say the thing is I gotta watch that one. It's on HBO Max, so I could check that out at some point. But what was I gonna say? Not Ray, but oh yeah, I think my least favorite might be. Well, I mean, Deathstroke one I didn't like, but behind the Deathstroke one, it's probably the which is sad because it's Bruce Timm and it's technically a continuation of the Justice League Unlimited. Was the Justice League versus the Fatal Five? Which that one was not the Fatal Five. Was it the Fatal Five or was it the?
Well, I can't remember. But that's the one where it has all the characters. It's like, hey kids, here's a bunch of characters with problems, and I hate whenever I see those type of stories. They remind me of that thing where people think that like they're doing something good by like being like, oh, I'm gonna make a superhero team with all these like mental problems and things like that because I'm doing right. I want those few people out there to be able to relate to it. But it just almost looks like you're just trying to you're trying to pat yourself on the back by thinking that you're like doing a self-righteous cause, but you're not really. It just makes you look like an asshole.
Well, it was just one of those things where you had Cosmic Boy the whole time, and they're trying to say he has a disease, or was it Cosmic or Star Boy? Some shit.
Star Boy.
Legion horse shit. I don't fucking know. Anyway, it was something to the effect of like he had some disease they don't have a cure for yet. Like they don't have yet in our time. And didn't have the medication for it, so he just became more of a liability the whole time, but he had the moment to shine, he did the right thing, and this and that, and it just became more of like, I get what you're saying, I think there are ways to tell that story or do it, but in the context of like an hour and 18-minute movie, it was just he was there too long, and it was just like he was slowing shit down. And then you had the girl, like
the weird Green Lantern girl.
The Green Lantern, who I don't know how she is in the comics, but in this she just was kind of like. I mean, I get the concept. Like, okay, a Green Lantern who is scared. Why the Ring choose her? Like all that kind of shit. Like,
yeah.
I think there is something to do there, but at the same time, I don't know. That one I was just so like, and I was like, oh, Miss Martian's there. Oh, Mr. Terrific's there. I'm like. Oh, they're just there. They don't really do. They're just kind of there. These two are kind of like the two main characters.
That's like one of those ones. Batman's like, okay, you guys screwed up the last mission we did, so I'm putting the dunce cap on you guys, and you have to watch these broken children grow up. You know, like that's kind of how it is. I don't know. So sometimes with Green Lantern, they try to get like, I don't know, like sometimes they go like, okay, let's be honest, that ring is gonna choose people who are literally up. They got a lot of choices on Earth. You know what I mean? They're not gonna they're gonna choose the right candidate. They're not just gonna choose somebody, you know, just so that they can kind of have like, you know, I don't know, somebody else on their record saying like, see, look, we were open minded on who we chose. You know, I mean, yeah, we did choose the star quarterback guy, you know, but that actually sort of worked out for us. That actually created the best Green Lantern.
Well, I get the idea of like, okay, we could have there's a very major contrast between, say, Jon Stewart Green Lantern and Kyle Rayner Green Lantern. I get there's a big difference between the two, but they both have their own ways of doing things, and both ways are fully functional and help out the team. Where her, the whole time, just like fetal position, the whole time, 18 locks on the door is like, what the fuck? Like, oh well, you know, we just figured we branch out. You know, we have a new guy into HR. You just see like one of the fucking like blue, like one of the blue like elder people, like, hey man, look, we can't be so judgmental. We gotta let everyone try on the ring. Come on, man.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. It feels like, yeah, it's like the person getting the giant trophy for 17th place. You know what I mean? Like, you know, we that's where we need a Guy Gardner who's gonna step in.
Mario Party.
And he's going to put his Leatherman jacket on and, you know, strap his boots on. He's going to get shit done because, you know why? He has the fucking skill and he's got the attitude. I fucking love Guy Gardner. That's like one of those characters. Not bold. I don't like the bowl cut version because that haircut just makes him look like a douche. But once he gets like the later days like Guy Gardner, that's my favorite Green Lantern in like the Jeff Johns era and so on.
It would be funny if it was like just kind of like polar opposite Green Lantern team up. I'm sure it's happened in the comics. Green Lantern and Kyle Rayner, so it's the jock and the nerd who likes to draw.
Yeah, the guy who likes to draw shit. Well, because I do like Kyle Rayner a lot too, because he is that kind of guy that like he always kind of screws up a lot of times, but like it's still kind of like he still has like a good way of solving it, even though he is kind of like a little bit of a fuck up, you know. And he's got kind of an attitude against like everybody else.
I think my favorite's probably Jon Stewart.
Yeah, well, Jon Stewart's he's always classic too.
I think it might be because of just watching the Justice League cartoon as a kid and all that, and then well, not kid like in high school, but you know, but like
that's still like, a kid. Let's be honest. Until you're past the age of 25, you're pretty much still a kid. I'm just saying.
I still They're apparently going to do a Green Lantern show on HBO Max eventually, and it's just going to be like a cop show of Green Lanterns. So yeah, I'm all for that.
As long as the key thing about Green Lantern, you just got to keep it staying in space. I think that's the most important thing to make Green Lantern really interesting. Is because when you read a Green Lantern comic, like I think what I always loved about them, I know we're talking about fucking Green Lantern for like days on a Catwoman podcast, but
it was a short movie. What can you do?
Well, I mean, it's the same length as any of them. It was like 80 minutes, but
I guess it is just like I said though, a very A to B kind of thing. You know, you get there and she steals the thing, they take the thing back, they go back and get the thing, and yeah.
I mean,
They fight Cheetah at the end.
They fight and fight. The cat fights.
You tried.
They did. I don't know. As I said, like I still enjoyed it. I feel like even the more we talk about it, even if we could talk about like it's maybe not perfect, like I still thought it was like I still had a fun time with it. I still thought, as I said, the action was good. They throw some characters in that you would never normally see in anything like animated or movie wise. You know, Yeah, I mean, I just think it is one of those ones, like, the more movies there is, it's almost like it's really easy to kind of, put your hat on backwards and arms crossed and go, come on, DC, impress me. Like
That's me.
Yeah, Ryan's starting to get his attitude era, just, like, leaning sideways, and, like, you know what, like, I'm not so happy-go-lucky anymore, you've given me too much.
You're giving me too much. I only paid $20 for it.
It's like, why is there no soda in here? Like, come on.
No, it's more of just like, I just seen a lot of these by now, and I feel like that this one just didn't really stand out as much as other ones. And it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't god-awful, but it's like, I could see myself putting on Justice Society World War II again. I could see myself putting on Superman versus the Elite again. I could see myself putting on like I don't know, Batman Under the Red Hood. There's a lot I could see myself watching just for the fun of it. I don't see myself putting this one back on other than like, we're doing another retro, like 10 years from now, we're going back to this, see if our opinion changed. I mean, I'll probably, I have it now, so it's taking up room on my shelf. So at some point, maybe I'll sit down and watch it again, but just to see if I feel any different about it. But at this moment, I'm just kind of like, I think there is a good story there, and I think there's more you can do with it. Maybe just given the format and the type of 80-minute runtime or whatever, maybe it felt a little bit more rushed. Because the other ones, I feel like they do a good job of, even being short, condensing a lot of information. Where this one felt a little more of just kind of really short. And I think that there is an interesting story to be told where Catwoman's on a heist. She's being forced by Interpol and Batwoman to work with them. Mm-hmm. And then along the way, she's fighting off a bunch of villains. But the thing is, maybe if those villains have more of a moment rather than just throwing one or two punches before getting knocked out. I appreciate they're there, but I just think that, Solomon Grundy, we got a big scene for.
Yeah.
I appreciate the fight with Cheetah. Was it as much of a fight as much as it was a hunt? That was interesting.
Well, the movie is called Hunted.
Exactly. But everything else, though, was just kind of like, there's Intergang for a second. There's Black Mask. He just points at what he wants people to shoot at. There's the doctor guy with poison. He'll throw some vials, and that's that, So it's kind of like that sort of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's one of those ones that I feel it's one of those few times, because I mostly never say this, because I always feel like the more characters you can shove into a movie generally is better. Where I know there's always some people that are like, I like the movie where it's one hero and one villain, because then we get to see their backstory and the costume doesn't get put on till, an hour and 10 minutes into it. Yeah, and it's like, oh, geez, one of those people again, fucking. But like, because generally it's like, I like when it's like, no, give me like in a sense like that last Spider-Man movie where it's like, oh, fucking Spider-Man's got 5 Spider-Mans. Oh, and there's 3 fucking Spider-Mans. Fucking A, let's do it. Like, that's my kind of like movie right there. But this, I will say on the Catwoman one, I do think they almost threw a little too many characters in there, which I still think is kind of cool, but like, you probably could have just cut a couple of them out just so... It's almost that weird thing that, like, even by almost like the gangsters, you could almost just sort of sum that more into, like, maybe Black Mask, and then gave him a little bit more scenes. Still kept the fighting characters in there, all the ones that Catwoman sort of fights throughout in Batwoman and so on. But then just give Black Mask a little bit more than just kind of sitting there, like, armchair, like, commanding once in a blue moon. Like, give him just a little bit more kind of... I feel like that's... I mean, literally, Black Mask is on the cover of the box, isn't he?
He is, yeah.
Yeah,
well, I honestly... I think this would have been better as probably like a 4 to 6 issue miniseries, in all honesty. Because I think that would give you time to elaborate on, not to be that way you know their backstories and this and that. Like, okay, maybe you can make it more of like I know I'm rewriting something.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
now you're like your armchair sitting there like Black Mask. Let me tell you how I would do this.
I'm just thinking, they probably, if they had the time and the money, they probably would have made something a little bit more of what we're talking about, if I had to guess. But it's like, okay, it's like it's a trip spanning around Europe. So this issue, they're in Spain. She's going to go against this villain in this part of the job. This issue, they're going to Portugal. They're going to be handling this villain, this part of the job. This one, they're going to Turkey. I honestly think there's something kind of like that, which I think would feel more like Catwoman and give more to it. But I know that's easier said than done. It's not so much saying make what I just said, but I think that would be better as a comic. The concept of this, I think, could work really good as a comic.
Yeah.
Rather than like a short little 80-minute movie.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those ones that, like, I mean, like, in animation-wise, when it's 80 minutes, that's like the equivalent of like a 2-hour like live-action film. But it's one of those
case by case. This one seemed a little rushed to me.
Yeah. Well, I just always feel you get more like in a live-action movie, you would never be able to get all this stuff into like 2 hours probably, or you probably could get maybe, but you would never be able to get into an hour and a half. Is what I guess what I'm saying. It would have never fit. But it's one of those ones that, yeah, I do think that that's kind of how it is. You could probably just sort of expand it a little bit. And in a weird way, if you did sort of trim some characters, I guess that would just leave you a little bit of that extra room to put a little bit more. Like, in a sense, like, okay, we already have this round table of, like, all the gang guys. I mean, I know that this kind of just sort of spoils ahead, but you could have almost taken many of the people that Catwoman fought, and they could have been sitting around that round table. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and that would have expanded on their, like, dialogue and characters. So you just have Solomon Grundy there just fucking, like, okay, Solomon, we get it. Born on a Monday. Don't quit raising your hand every single time you got a question. I know what the answer is, and I know what the end of the answer is, too.
Here's my iPad. Go play Minecraft.
Ooh.
But at the same time, I feel like, yeah, I think that, because they did, I'm not saying every character needs to be the head of a fucking issue or anything stupid like that. There are characters that are muscle, and that's all they need to be, muscle. Cashire's muscle, Solomon Grundy, Nosferatu, you know, there are those characters that are just there for a minute, and I totally get it. I just think that, I guess one part of me, I'm tired of being cock-teased with Black Mask. Like, oh, cool, they're going to finally do something cool with Black Mask. Nope. And then, I even liked what they did with him in whatchamacallit, in
Birds of Prey.
Birds of Prey.
Yeah, that's the best part of the movie is Black Mask.
He was different from how he is in the comics, but he was still really interesting and really fun to watch, but then you kill him at the end. So it's like, all right, well, I guess we won't be seeing him in any Batman sequels anytime soon.
Yeah.
So, it's just one of those kind of things. But at the same time, yeah, I thought the movie was all right. I want to say this real quick. I do feel like there's becoming this thing with, like, Batman characters that aren't used as much. Like, well, I guess, you know, they're technically Batman characters, but let's put them to the side, and then Batman's sidekicks and friends could fight those guys in a spin-off movie. Because Firefly is going to be the villain in Batgirl. Mm-hmm. So that's what they're doing for him. So it's like, because Firefly doesn't even seem like he'd be a head villain. He seems like the right-hand man to somebody, if you ask me.
I always felt Firefly is if you're going to have a 007 style Batman opening, that's who Batman's fighting in the beginning is Firefly.
And then he gets away, and that's the right-hand man. He has another battle with him near the end or something like that.
Yeah, because I feel
as he's trying to do the main thing.
He's a perfect character to have, like, a flashy kind of look. Got the jetpack, got the flamethrowers, and all that kind of stuff like that. And you could literally just have a cool action scene, like, where Batman's, you know, fighting him, like, on, like, a plane or something like that, and then they break out, and then they're having, like, a cool air battle and whatnot as they're falling towards Gotham, and this is, like, the start of Batman. And literally Batman, you know, as he's going down, maybe Batman sort of breaks the fall, like, into, like, the bat signal or something like that, and Commissioner Gordon's just standing there shaking his head, drinking coffee.
Freeze frame.
Then you just have like that title, just like in the new Batman movie, where it's like the Batman, and the title's like so ginormous on like the screen.
I was gonna say, do you know? I mean, you're gonna really like this. Do you know who's playing the Firefly?
No, I don't.
Brendan Fraser.
That's amazing. I'm 10,000 times more sold now.
Only thing that makes me mad is it's a HBO Max exclusive. It's not going to theaters. Why? It's Batgirl.
The downfall that, I mean, I know this is like a tangent upon tangents, but whenever movies are straight, literally, if you go straight to, like, in a sense, streaming, it really has that same feel. I mean, I know we're reviewing a straight to, you know, DVD, Blu-ray type movie, but, like, when movies go straight to streaming, it almost, I can guarantee that means it's not going to be that high production. Because all those, like, straight to movie, like, whenever you watch generally a straight to movie, even if it's kind of like a big production with big actors and so on like that, whenever you watch those movies on, like, the streaming things, and it's not saying that there can't be good ones, but they always feel like, oh, I see that the budget was cut here and so on. They almost just feel like you're watching a made-for-TV movie. Like, they always do. And that's the only thing that kind of bums me out when I hear that. And it's not saying that it can't still be good, but you're going to watch it, and it's not going to be like you're watching an actual movie. You're definitely watching Return of Jafar when it comes to that standard. It's not going to, there's going to be no Robin Williams. Like it's one of those ones you're gonna see, like, the animation's not gonna be exactly like they're gonna draw out every other frame, not every frame. One of those ones. It's like there's gonna be some cuts and you're gonna notice them, and that's how I always feel about all those like straight to like streaming kind of things. It's not saying that they can't be good, but they're always still gonna be like a B movie in a sense.
No, I get what you mean. Yeah, I mean, they're apparently doing that with a lot of their DC stuff they're coming out with, which makes me mad because they're coming out with a Static Shock movie too and a Blue Beetle one, but those are straight to HBO Max also. It's like,
dude,
oh, come the fuck on. Like, Static Shock is owed a movie by this fucking point, a theatrical movie.
Yeah. And the worst part about that, though, is I kind of hate to say it, but like it does, you just don't get enough traction too, because not everybody has every streaming thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but everybody can go to the theaters in a sense. You know what I mean? But like, there's a lot of people out there. They're not just gonna get a different streaming service just for like one movie, unless that's maybe their favorite character or something like that. You know what I mean? So I feel like, I kind of hate to say it, but like those kind of movies are in a sense only being sold to, and maybe that's just the way that Warner Brothers views it. They're like, we're only selling them to I guess the fans that would go out of their way to see it. Maybe a couple casual people if they just happen to have HBO Max or something, but yeah, it's kind of bizarre how they do that. I hate to say it, I feel like Warner Bros. And so on, I think they're giving up on the theaters. I think a lot of companies starting to give up on movie theaters because just, in the last while, like, you go to the movie theater and you generally have a lot more room than you once did. It's not like you go to the movie theaters and it's like a premiere of like a big movie and it's like so jam-packed, or it's like the 90s where they're like, fuck it, we could sell some more tickets, go sit on the floor. I don't know how many times I watched movies literally sitting on the floor in a theater, like when fire codes weren't an issue.
No, yeah.
And as I said, like the last, all these big movies, Spider-Man, Batman, and everything like that, it's not saying there's not people there, but they're not gangbuster, like jam-packed to the max, like that kind of thing. And I think that those companies are taking this into account, and they're kind of going, you know what? We're going to slowly cut the theater off, and then it will eventually just die.
AMC adding a premium to major movies like The Batman doesn't help either. Did you hear about that shit?
No.
If they're
well, why? That's like the only movie you're gonna go see. Like, I mean, like I go to the theaters more than anybody, but like still.
They had a. I'm not sure if they're doing it. I'm assuming it didn't turn out well. But if you're going to see the Batman at AMC, they charge you $2 more because they knew people wanted to go see the Batman.
Yeah, that's fucked up. It better be on IMAX if that's the case or something like that. Or I better be able to fucking sit between Batman and Catwoman when I'm watching it.
The dude in the bat suit better be giving me a hand job in the middle of the movie. Shit.
Yeah, right when they
or the woman, either way. I just want a little more for it. That's all.
Or the Penguin. I don't fucking care. Just do it right when
Riddler, sure.
Yeah, when the Batmobile scene comes out, I don't care who it is. But
I'm gonna be able to sit next to Jeffrey Wright throughout the movie, okay? And get like a actor's commentary or some shit.
Yeah, not the drunk guy from Applebee's giving me his like commentary thoughts on it. But yeah, as I said, it's kind of sad, but I feel like the movie companies is what's going to kill the theaters. It's not the patrons. I know the movie companies would tell you the patrons are what's going to kill the theaters. No, it's the second that you tell the patrons that they can watch these things anywhere but the movie theaters, the average Joe's not going to go to the theater at all anymore. Only the hardcore people, and the hardcore people don't pay. Sadly enough, hardcore people don't pay the bills because there's just not enough of them.
Yeah. Well, also at the same time, I guess we'll find out. I mean, I know that we started off just on Catwoman. Now it's talking about DC and movies in general. But yeah. I feel like after The Flash, because right now there's a bunch of questions of where DC movies are going in the long run. Because The Flash looks like they're doing some like rebooty type shit with that, like New 52 kind of thing. But at the same time, like who knows what the fuck's gonna happen? Because from what it looks like, Michael Keaton is gonna be in the Batgirl. So who knows if is it just okay? Well, that's in this universe. They stopped by to say hi to Michael Keaton in The Flash, and now he's off doing his own thing over here. Or did that just erase Ben Affleck? What's it all doing? So it's all kind of up in the air. So I guess we'll just find out what happens. We
just have one of those like off-screen shots where Ben Affleck's Batman slips on a banana peel and falls down the stairs and hits the back of his head like on the bottom rung, and that's how he dies.
Cue the Curb Your Enthusiasm music credits.
Yeah, just like one of those ones. We're like, oh, I guess we need to get a new Batman in then. Just like
Jeremy Irons like walks in with his arms up like, Bruce, I told you, never in the cave. Freeze frame.
yeah, just like one of those ones, just to kind of clear it there. But I don't know. I mean, like I'm always looking forward to whatever comes out, and I'm there to look forward to all the good times. But choices.
Oh, sorry, totally froze out. I just landed on, choices. Like, oh, cool, yeah. Choices.
Choices. I'll take whatever we can get. So, whatever the heck the next DCU one is now I feel like I gotta keep I gotta pay more of attention because I feel like Warner Bros. Isn't advertising as much as they used to. Because a lot of times I would even get the emails that said like, "Hey Spencer, you got $20 in your pocket, right?" Warner Bros. needs you to come on down and get the new Superman or get the new Justice League movie right now.
I just like to be that WB frog, like, hello, my darling, and all just comes in, like, you got some money, don't you? Well, I mean, like, come on, you got your fucking money, you're just breaking some shit.
He's like pulling out your wallet out of your pocket, like, see, I see you got $20 right here. What are you doing with it? What are you gonna spend? Honestly, is there anything else that's gonna be better than the movie? Well, no, yeah. The fucking frog knows what's right.
Takes your money, just does the can out of the room.
Yeah, just goes for it. Hey, I didn't get my movie yet. Oh, well.
You will.
You'll get another $20.
Long-term investment. What's the next one? I think the next one is they don't have any actual like production stills or anything like that. I think it's just
Oh, there's the Super Sons one. I remember because I think that was.
Oh yeah, they're talking about doing a Super Sons one. That's right.
And apparently it looks like there's a Green Lantern one too.
Green Lantern and Super Sons. Cool.
So it sounds like Green Lantern's coming out next, and then Super Sons is one's summer, one's fall. Okay, well that's kind of cool.
All right. Super Sons, I don't think that's going to be set in that world because Batman doesn't have a kid yet. So I don't think it's going to be set in that new world they established. It would be really cool if, and I know I'm speculating again. It'd be really cool if the Super Sons one took place in the Bruce Timm animated universe. So it's modern day, and Damian and can't believe I'm trying to blank on his name. Damian.
Oh,
not Clark. John Kent.
Yeah, John Kent.
That's his, John
boy.
Kent the second. Yeah, it'd be cool if it was like, oh yeah, so it's been long enough. They're teenagers in the DC animated universe now, the original DC animated universe. So I think that'd be cool. But I know, easier said than done.
Yeah, no, that would actually be kind of a neat one to sort of have and so on. But
Super Sons was a fun book. I got the first 3 volumes of it. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that one always looked kind of like an interesting one. God, I saw another one. There might be another Constantine one maybe coming out too, which could be kind of cool.
Right now, the Super Sons, both of them are more teenagers now, and part of me is kind of like, it sounds weird. It's just like, can we go back to you guys just being, like boys and not being like all like moody, like 16-year-olds? Can you go back to being like just, like, I don't know. I know it sounds kind of weird from a 35-year-old man. Like, why do you gotta be teenagers? Why can't you just be boys again? I don't know how fucking weird that sounds, but I kind of prefer more. I can kind of bypass a lot of the angst. You know what I mean? It was just this interesting dynamic. Like one kid's all powerful, but doesn't have like one kid's all powerful and he's a really good kid, but isn't as well trained as a kid less powerful. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. But it's one of those ones I will say. I think the older you get, like you almost kind of appreciate like the 10-year-old boy kind of stories. I don't know if it's just like a hearkening. I think it's like what, in a sense, if you think about it, it's what every older man finally becomes. Because at one point in time, that's where you see the old guy starts building his train set upstairs in the attic, and it's just like I feel. Or at another time, he's getting stock or he's getting little like model car race tracks. You know what I mean? For us, it's like one of those ones where it's like it's like you start getting all the Pokemon things because you almost appreciate that. Like I don't know what it is. I think there's just that thing where it's just like, you know what? It's a simpler time when we were 10, and life was. It was just everything you needed, and there was great adventure and no problems to really be had. I mean, you were solving stuff all the time, but it wasn't like it was your world. And I think that's where that whimsy kind of comes. That's why sometimes I almost feel like I appreciate like those kind of stories like nowadays, where it's just like, oh, there's a good old whimsy classic adventure, sunny days, friends hanging out.
Well, I don't remember I don't remember all the plot points from all the volumes, but I remember the main plot point from the first volume was it was like they weren't supposed to be going out doing superhero shit together. They wanted John to just be more of a regular boy, this and that, and he wants to hang out with Robin. He's like, you can't keep up with me, this and that, and just basically them going off and doing superhero shit, but also kind of fucking up because they're kids, and then like Bat Dad and Superman come in, be like, "Bullet, what you doing?" And like of course, out of that becoming kind of like, all right, we gotta let the boys be boys. And at some point, they give them like a base they don't use anymore, like a joint Batman Superman base, so. It was a really fun book. I don't know where it's at. I think it's gone through 3 different revamps because that thing where this run ends and now we're just going to move forward with not just a different writer, but different tone and vibe. I think it's gone through 3 of those already, but yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those ones. It'd be interesting to see. I feel that movie will be kind of a cool way to sort of sum up all those points in there and so on like that and see where it goes to next. But, I look forward to these new DCU ones coming out and everything like that. I think that no matter what, as I said, even if they kind of have a little bit of, like, a fluctuation, they'll come out and they'll just, hit a real high bar one again. I mean, and generally it seems like in a year we're gifted about 3 or 4 of them now, if not even sometimes a 5th one. So that's a pretty good...
know when they're popping up. Yeah, maybe it'll come up today, maybe it'll come up like 3 weeks from now, who knows?
That's the only downfall. I just feel like that they don't do the greatest job of advertising them. And it just feels like... The easiest way, as always, was just to put I know this sounds like almost old-fashioned advertising, I guess, by nowadays. Be like, what, you don't follow the DCU, like, Twitter feed or something like that? But it's like, it's Twitter. It's only going to pop up, like, the top 15 people I talk to. It's just, that's how it works. But, so if you don't talk to me, then I'm never going to see it. So go figure. But it's one of those ones where, just putting the little trailer on them. I mean, maybe they don't have the trailer ready yet, but all you have to do, I don't care. You just get Bruce, shovel him in there, and just have him talk about it. Be like, I wasn't even working on this project. That's okay, Bruce. Just you're the voice of reason. Just like to know that something's coming out or whatnot or something like that. Or they should just literally just have they should just have a thing where it's almost like a Patreon subscription thing where I just literally whenever you have a new DCU movie, just charge my credit card and just send me the physical copy to my house. I don't care. Just you know what I mean? Like one of those ones. Whenever it is, just boom, send it, go. I'm like a
bat jet just flies by, just boom, just goes right through the window.
Yeah, if there was a service like that, I would totally take that. Where it's just you're just on a subscription to these things, and it's just when it came, they just shipped it to you instantly. You never have to even think about it. Just one day you go to the mail and you're like, oh, hey, there it is.
One day, one day you're just unexpected. There's a knock at the door. It's just Booster Gold's there with the Blu-ray. Hey, Booster Gold. It's usually the Batjet flying by. What happened? Batman said he's too fucking busy for this shit, so they got me. Here's your fucking Blu-ray.
It's like Christmas all over.
You want to watch it? No, I don't.
He's like, I don't got anything else to do. This is my only delivery of the day.
Well, it is your movie, so okay.
Yeah, exactly. One of those ones. But yeah, fun stuff in store there. Good old Batman stuff to do. Yeah, I feel like at some point, I know since we've practically done almost all these DCU ones, we should go back and cherry pick the ones that we those early days ones that we just I don't think ever did because it was just they came out pre-podcast era.
Yeah, that'd be actually a good retrospect just to go back and do. The only one we actually did do sort of a retrospect on was Under the Red Hood.
But, I think so, but I almost want to say there's a good 10, maybe even 15 of them that we probably haven't done.
Crisis on Infinite Earths, Superman Doomsday,
Wonder Woman, First Flight, the Superman Batman movies.
Yeah, both of them.
All-Star Superman. Did we do all? No, I think I can't remember.
We never did All-Star Superman. No. I think.
Emerald Knights. Did we do year one? I think we did year one.
We did year one in a retrospect. Yeah.
That's what I thought. I know we did a couple of them, but there's all that kind of stuff.
We just complained about cancel culture the whole episode.
Yeah, it's canceling.
It's right when James Gunn got fired off Guardians 3 for a second.
Oh yeah, maybe it was, but yeah, there's more fun stuff to do. So DCU for days. But till then, go to oldmenorange.com for more podcasts, comic books like Pizza Boys and all that other fun stuff. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes,
and I'm Ryan Dunnigan,
and we'll see you some other time.
Later, folks.